Welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. I'm John Bachmann filling in for Steve today. And joining me in studio is Rick Ungar. We're going to get to him in just a second. We got a lot to talk about here on the day. You just saw the interview there with Alan Dershowitz talking about the Amanda Knox case. We're going to talk to Rick here about the Amanda Knox case too. Peter Morici is going to be joining us as well. We're going to talk about a number of issues in this panel discussion we have coming up in just a second. Peter, of course, an economist and professor at the University of Maryland. He's actually going to join us for this discussion on Amanda Knox as well. That should be interesting. We also want to talk about the president's job initiatives that he talked about during the State of the Union speech, and we are hearing today that another report regarding the Keystone XL pipeline was released. It doesn't really say anything that we didn't know, but it is just another step in the process. Will the president now sign, or will he push John Kerry, who is the Secretary of State, who actually has the responsibility of implementing the Keystone Pipeline? Is he going to push him to do that? A lot of people would say no, but on the other hand, Republicans are saying this is the one jobs bill the president could sign that doesn't defund his signature health care legislation. It is maybe the least messy for the president to do, other than the problems he might have with his base. So the question on the Keystone Pipeline is going to come up once again here very soon. We want to bring in Rick in just a second, and Peter. We got to find out if they're ready. Is everybody ready? We going to do this? All right, let's go to Rick.
Let's do this.
Let's do this.
Let's do this.
We got to get you in the studio here, but talk about the Keystone Pipeline issue here with me. You know, I heard Congressman Marsha Blackburn, I think, or it was either her or Martha Black, talking about this being the one jobs bill that the Republicans fully back, that they could have the president sign off on, even though he doesn't have to sign off on it, the Secretary of State does, that doesn't defund his signature health care legislation. Right. The question is, why not do this? Why not?
You know what? I've had a very different take on this right from the start. And unfortunately, no one's ever really spent a lot of time talking about the real issues of this. I don't care if we have the Keystone Pipeline. It's okay with me. That's number one. Number two, the only way to resolve this, look, the real fear of any oil pipeline, and by the way, to my environmental friends, I always feel the need to point out, we have thousands of these pipelines that stretch all over this country. So, but the fear is that it will seep oil and bad chemicals into the aquifer, which is not good for the drinking water.
Yeah. Let's just take that off.
I'm going to take this off because it's just not happening.
It's not working for you. So
you have to have the ear of a dwarf to.
All right. We'll get that out of the way for the time being.
So to me, the most sensible resolution is, you know what? Put this up to a vote in Nebraska. Let the people who are risking the danger, if there is any danger, let them have something to say about this. The other point that I really think needs to be made, I wrote a series of articles about this about a year or two ago at Forbes, and I spoke with the chief economist for the company that wants to build the pipeline. It's about 2,000 jobs. Now, I have nothing against 2,000 jobs.
So we hear numbers as high as 200.
Most of those jobs would go away when the pipeline's finished. There will certainly create some support jobs. It will certainly create some surrounding business jobs. There may be a very good reason to build the pipeline, but let's be honest about what we're really going to get from it.
Allow me to be very cynical,
please.
Okay, for one moment here. And if I'm the president, and things are not looking good for the president right now, his poll numbers are in the tank. Why not just say, you know, Secretary Kerry, let's do this. Let's create some space for us. Maybe we can play this to our advantage politically. We can get more than we want on immigration reform. Right. Why not?
My prediction is he'll do exactly that. And I've been predicting that for well over a year. I will be very surprised if the president doesn't make this happen. Although I will still say that the best way to deal with this are the people who bear the risk of being affected.
All right, I see we got Peter with us now. Peter, good to have you with us. Peter Morici, economist, professor at the University of Maryland, and one of the best bow tie wearers around.
What do you mean one of the best? He is the man when it comes to bow ties.
Okay, well, I'm from the South. There's a lot of that. I think we have a lot of good bow tie wearers down there. Peter, we're talking about this new report just released on the Keystone XL pipeline. Not a lot of new information in there at this point, but there is also it's significant because it kind of reaffirms the fact that there's no specific environmental danger associated with this Keystone XL pipeline with any other pipeline that we have. Rick just highlighted that a second ago. Why won't the president sign this now, Peter?
Well, he's got two sets of forces pulling on him inside the Democratic Party. The environmentalists who basically want no energy projects at all.
I got him now.
And this illustrates that. And the labor people who want the construction jobs. Now, in addition to the construction jobs, which go away when the pipeline's done, operating the pipeline doesn't require many people. There would be the refining jobs in the Gulf, because the oil would be refined in the Gulf and then exported, and or used in the United States, especially in the Northeast. And those are good things. But you have to look at this from the point of view of, are the environmentalists in the Democratic Party sincere? Because this oil is going to get developed anyway, and it's just a matter of whether it's sold to China, and in turn we then have to buy Saudi Arabian oil or Nigerian oil that the Chinese don't buy. So it's not going to have any impact on how much fossil fuel is used, on global warming or anything like that. The real issue here to me, though, isn't the Keystone Pipeline. It's whether we build pipelines. Already we have a shortage of pipeline capacity east to west. And if the precedent is set that we're not going to build pipelines at all because environmentalists complain, or the people in Nebraska vote this way or that way, then what's going to happen? The answer is we're going to transport oil the way we increasingly do now, on unit trains, east to west, north to south, which is a far more dangerous way to transport oil. And
you look at that, there was that horrific explosion recently for the trains. But Rick, when you talk about the Keystone Pipeline, environmentalists are going to paint this with one broad brush here, and they're going to hold up things like this chemical leak in West Virginia as well.
Right. Look, one thing I want to respond to Peter. I agreed with a lot of what he had to say.
And feel free to jump in at any point.
Okay, but the one thing I will point out is this oil. Too many people in this country believe that this oil is going to stay here in the U.S., and that's the advantage. We all know that's not the case. The oil will be refined at the end of the pipeline, and it'll be put on the world market, and it might end up in China anyway. It's going to end up in a lot of places, as oil does. So I think it's dangerous to make people think, oh no, this is all something that's going to make our gas prices cheaper or something like that. Your point is exactly right, and it speaks to so many of the things that environmentalists are worried about. You can talk about fracking on this. Fracking in and of itself.
Well, that's not my point. But environmentalists are going to say
that.
No.
I understand that. Fracking in and of itself is not a bad idea. In fact, it's producing some excellent energy at a very It's true, and it only becomes a problem if you don't frack safely. If you build these pipelines and you do it the way they should be done, and you keep a good eye on it, chances are it's not going to be a problem.
That's
and
right.
It's going to be safer than the alternative.
I agree with that. It is safer than the trains.
It's just like with our offshore drilling bans. We ban drilling off the coast of California and off the coast of Virginia. Now, there are environmental risks in that. But what happens in turn by not drilling is we import more oil from places where the environmental risks aren't as easily managed. The environmentalists are always saying to us, well, think globally and act locally. Well, the responsible local thing to do would be to develop domestic energy, but do it properly, regulate it properly.
And what does proper and Peter, what does proper regulation mean?
It means that you minimize the risks, and by that, because we're the United States of America, we're an advanced industrialized society, we can better do that, than say Nigeria or Brazil or what have you, or we can do it at least as well. There's no real gain to not developing our own oil except to put Americans at risk in the Middle East.
All right, Peter, we got about 30 seconds left. I want to give Rick the last word.
I just want to add one thing, Peter. The whole oil rig thing off the coast of California, there's a little more to it. As somebody who lived on that coast, we didn't want to look at those things. It ruined the entire point of living on the coast, and that had as much to do with it as anything else. All
right, gentlemen, we're going to have to leave it there. Great discussion. Peter, glad we were able to get you in there. Rick, we'll have you back here in a few minutes. More to talk about. We want to get to Amanda Knox with you as well. Guys, and also coming up here in just a few minutes, we're going to talk to Congressman, that's right, Congressman Marsha Blackburn of Tennessee. We're going to talk about Obama's efforts and Democratic efforts to gin up the war on women, and also talk about income inequality with her as well. The Steve Malzberg Show will continue in just a few moments. I'm John Bachmann filling in today, and we'll be right back.
The Steve